Yo, welcome back to the channel. This is the story of Ijen Crater. So I ended up not really vlogging this trip at all really, but I basically went to Ijen Crater, which is on the little island of Java. I think this doesn't really represent Indonesia very well because Indonesia is actually a collection of islands, but Java is the big island next to Bali, on the left of Bali if you're looking at it on the map. As you've seen throughout the vlogs, and if you follow me on Instagram, if you don't follow me on Instagram, follow me at Luke Palms, that I've been travelling down the island of Java for 2 and a bit weeks before I went into Bali, and my last stop on the island of Java was a little place called Banyuwangi. It's a really fun name to say. Now, there's 2 reasons I wanted to go to Banyuwangi. The first one is because it's a good pit stop before you then go to Bali, because you can get a bus directly from Banyuwangi into Bali itself. Second reason was the Ijen Crater. Now, the Ijen Crater is another active volcano in the island of Java. It is one of only 2 places known to us in the world that you can see the blue fire. Now, the blue fire is a natural occurrence. I'm not exactly sure how it happens. I think it's got something to do with the sulfur burning, but you can only see it in the base of the Ijen Crater, down by the acidic lake itself, and there's a second place you can see it, which is in Iceland, somewhere I haven't been, but I will do that at some point. So we specifically asked our hostel if we could leave as late as possible to be able to get there in time. So we're up at 12:30, we got picked up at 1 AM, and then we headed off to Mount Ijen. Banyuwangi was actually the first place that actually made friends on this trip, and that sounds really sad, but it's not quite as sad as that makes it sound. Traveling down Java, I stayed in hotels, not hostels, and I didn't actually really encounter anyone really, any tourists. It was just pretty much me and locals, and it kind of got to the point that I felt like I was sort of on my own on this side of the world. Although I did notice in Malang I started to see a few more tourist people, and then when I got to Banyuwangi I started to see a lot more, and I was actually staying in a hostel this time, albeit in my own private room. Between Malang, my previous stop, and Banyuwangi, it was a 7-hour train journey, and getting off that train I met a group of tourists. Thank God that they were there, because I didn't have any Wi-Fi, so I couldn't order a taxi. Didn't actually know how much a taxi should cost me, so I just asked them, hey guys, do you mind if I use your hotspot? Turns out they were staying in the same hostel. So that was a bit of a result, so I ended up making friends with these guys. The day following my arrival, me and one of the girls went off and explored one of the local waterfalls, did the rice terraces, got a nice coffee and just chilled out. And we all decided that we were going to do the Ijen Crater tour together that following night. So fast forward to where I was in the story, we got picked up at 1 AM, we headed off to Ijen Crater. I was not in the best of moods. The reason being is because I'd had a really good night's sleep the night before, and that whole day, albeit spent out doing stuff all day, was pretty relaxing. So I wasn't tired at all. So I tried to go to bed at like 9 and I was wide awake, and I was just wide awake all night. I think I managed to get about 45 minutes of sleep and then got in the taxi to go to Ijen Crater. So I was not in the best mood, and if any of you guys are watching this, I apologize again for how just miserable I was for pretty much the whole hike, because I was not having it. I was so freaking tired, and this hike was like, I'm not a hiker. My light bar just died. I'm not a hiker. I love walking and I love the viewpoints, but hikes just, yeah, I'm not something I do particularly often, and this was a steep boy. I can't remember what was it like. It was 2 kilometers like uphill. Just no food, no coffee, just no sleep. It weren't the one for me. It really weren't. Okay, this light's really bugging me, so I'm gonna quickly get a charger. So we started the hike up the crater. I was lagging behind massively. My logic was slow and steady wins the race. I was like taking my time. They were all like speeding off and then stopping. I was more like, I'm just going to keep walking at a slow pace. Like, they'll stop, I'll catch up, and then we'll keep going, and we'll do it that way. It was a long hike. Like, for a non-hiker, it was a long hike, and I was dying. But we eventually got to, like, the midpoint. And the reason I say it's the midpoint is because you get to this certain point where you're at the edge of the crater, and you can do an extra kilometer walk up, further up to the crater, and that's where you do the sunrise viewpoint, or you've got a kilometer hike down to go see the blue fire. So that's why I'm going to call this the midpoint, even though it's not really the middle of the hike. So from here we had a couple minute break, and then we ended up going down to the blue fire. Now this was absolutely insane. So this is actually an active mine that you're going down to, where they're mining sulfur for not much money, but the miners do this 7 days a week. They don't have a day off unless they really, really need a day off. They just don't. But they can only work in like the night time because it's too hot during the day. So you're hiking down this barely a path. It's just stones and rocks, and you're basically rock climbing down there. And you got the miners coming up here with like anywhere between 60 and 150 kg on their, like, over their shoulders of sulfur rock, which they're hiking back up this barely a path with. It's honestly, it's mind-blowing how they do it. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. Also, none of these miners have any masks on, and we've been given masks. We have to put the mask on because otherwise you're breathing in the acidic gas from the sulfur gas. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, we hiked all the way down to the blue fire, and there was loads of smoke coming out of the mine because of the sulfuric gas and all of that. But every now and again, the wind blows in a certain direction and it clears out all the smoke, and you can see the blue fire, which was absolutely awesome to see. It was a pain in the arse because it's pitch black to try and photograph this. So I've got some photos that I'll put up on the screen now and you can see. But it was just, it was one of them things where it's like, I'm not even fussed that I didn't really get a great photo because it was just like incredible to see in person. After spending some time down here at the blue fire, we needed to get up for sunrise. So we started hiking back up, obviously avoiding the miners as we go. I don't know how I honestly really don't understand how they do that. It's like so many times per day with so much on their shoulders because that hike was brutal. But we hiked back up to the midpoint, and then we started the extra kilometer walk around to the sunrise viewpoint. Now, it was as we were about halfway through this walk, and I could see the sun peaking. I don't know what it was. I think it was seeing the sunrise, but I got a sudden burst of energy and just sprinted. Me and Aki sprinted along the top of the crater because we were not missing that sunrise. Got all the way around, and then the sunrise itself wasn't the best sunrise I've ever seen. I'll definitely see better, and I did see better in the coming weeks across Bali and Java. But seeing the sunrise on the edge of the island of Java after spending 2.5 weeks traveling my way down Java, and then behind you is this incredible blue sulfur lake in the base of an active volcano.
What the fuck? This is crazy. This is Ijen Crater. Yeah, 5 kilometer hike up, 5 kilometer hike back down, but totally worth it. This is insane. I was dying on that hike, but this is so worth it. And we've got a cheeky sunrise that way as well. Mental.
You know what I mean? Like, they're core memories, let's call it. Let's say it's a core memory. There's just moments like this that you don't forget. You just don't forget them. And that was one of them. It was absolutely amazing. I couldn't have picked a better group of people to do it with as well. Making friends 2 days earlier to now going up this incredible place and seeing this incredible view and making these memories with them was just... it was perfect. It's what solo travel's about, in my personal opinion. Like, that is what... that's what travel was about, let alone solo travel. Making friends and making these incredible memories with these friends. It was awesome. It was honestly awesome. Here's a group shot of us all stood at the top of the Ijen Crater. But big shout out to everyone that I went with on this tour because you made it awesome. Thank you all for putting up with me and my slacking behind and moaning about how tired I was and how the hike was, because as I say, I'm not a hiker. I feel kind of bad for these guys because they kept taking turns and coming back and like walking with me, and I massively appreciate it, honestly, because I was struggling. So that was Ijen Crater. Afterwards we headed back round. I got some snaps. I got some of my favourite photos actually heading back around the crater, looking down in the view. And then we made our way back down the 2-kilometre trek up, all the way down to the car park. Got back in the cars and headed back to our hostel. Now this is where I got my first taste of how bittersweet solo travel can be. So this was my first taste, but it was in no way my last. This happened pretty much everywhere else I went, because from Banyuwangi onwards I stayed in specifically hostels only and started like making an effort to be more social during my travels, and so you make a lot more friends. But the bittersweetness of solo travel, or travel in any respect, and making friends along the way, is you end up making friends, you make these incredible memories with them and see these incredible places and experiences, and at some point you've got to say goodbye. You may end up going on to the next place with some people. There's a couple of people I end up meeting a few times around my trip around Bali, and we end up meeting up a few times, and it was really nice to see them. But you've always got to say goodbye, and it's really bittersweet because you've made these incredible memories with these people, and then they go, or you go. And for me, it was they all left me sort of thing in Banyuwangi. So I'd booked an extra day than they had, because I knew I was going to be doing this tour from like midnight till whatever. I think we got back at like 9 a.m. And I was not prepared to then spend 5 to 8 hours on a bus over to Bali. So I booked an extra night in the hostel and then stayed there and chilled out for the whole day, which I'm glad I did. However, almost everyone that I'd done this tour with then got back to the hostel, packed up their stuff and headed off to Bali. So we just spent these, like the last 9 hours making these incredible memories together. And obviously the days before as well when I'd met them. And then they went off to Bali. And that's when I got my first taste of how bittersweet the social side of travel is. Don't let it put you off in any respect at all, by the way, because it's still absolutely worth it. But that's just part of it, isn't it? It's just how it goes. They all left. They all went over to Bali. I spent another night in Banyuwangi. I spent that entire day in the hostel actually just editing, drinking local wine with the owners of the hostel, just chilling out and making new friends. New people had come to the hostel, and I ended up chatting to them and telling them how good the Ijen tour was and how they should do it, and giving them advice. I met a few people that were coming the opposite way. They'd just come from Bali and they were going up. So we exchanged stories, we exchanged places to go on our travels. And the next day I headed off to Bali. And that'll be the next vlog. My first few days in Bali were spent chilling out in Canggu, and then I did a little road trip around the island. So that'll be the next vlog you see on this channel. So in the meantime, do me a favor, drop a thumbs up down below if you like this video. Subscribe if you aren't already to follow on the journey, and hit the bell so you get notified when I upload. All the other stuff that YouTubers tell you to do. The hashtag Luke Palm shoutouts on the screen now. As always, I've not seen them yet, but I'm sure they are bangers. As you can tell, I'm back. I'm currently in the UK setup. I've only been here for a few weeks, but I've got a backlog of vlogs to get out there, so the travel content will not be stopping. So I'll see you in the next one. All the other stuff that YouTubers tell you to do. Don't forget to take the shot. Peace.